Go.
Hello, welcome to our first ever piece of content from our new modding room. We have a whole bunch of equipment that we don't know how to use. Not really, but today we're just going to be trying out a relatively basic start. So we're going to be unboxing a hardware. This is my personal build that's also going to PAX. So we don't have long to do it, and we don't have so much time for anything creative to an extreme extent. We're going to be using all standard EK products, maybe some special ones if we can find them, and hopefully we have it wrapped up by the end of the week. Like I said, today we'll unbox everything, I'll chat to everyone and see how it goes. We had such fun on Expo that we wanted to interact with you all a lot more. So if you sub, then we'll make more and more content, especially from the room. It's good to see everyone. I see Snef is already here. I think he's permanently hanging out on EK channels. And yeah, is this my personal workshop? Actually, this is EK's shop. So Attila will also be allowed to hang out, and a bunch of different content segments will also be filmed here. We will also make like a walk around where you can see every single piece of equipment we chose in detail and check out what our capabilities will be here. We won't go so far as to take over production from here, so we won't get machines, but nice hand tools and everything we need to prepare big builds, maybe even have guests, and you know, when everyone's allowed to travel, we can have some real fun here. Sadly, I'm not designing active backplates right now because I'm doing builds, but I have been working all day, of course, and this is something we're going to do in the afternoons this week. So Americans, it's a good time for you, and everyone can join in. I see we're already getting love from the ZMT gang. We have some ZMT in the back. You'll find out what it's going to be for. Let's start taking a close look at the hardware we've got for this build. So I actually received the 6900 XT. This is a Meteor edition from AMD, so really epic packaging, and it seemed right that I use Ryzen to go with this. So this is my first ever AMD CPU. I had a long line of Intel's, mostly 2011 stuff, because I used to like the crazy motherboards. That got me into workstation boards and less consumer stuff, overclocking stuff. So I also have an Asus workstation, X570 Pro Ace, which is a bit special. Not everyone's using it, but it's also not completely insane. On the storage front, I have a single Western Digital Black 2 terabyte. This is a Gen 4 drive promising 7,000 megasecond read, so I'm really excited to try that out. And memory, I went with the blackest option that's currently available. I don't want to have any RGB in this build, so the EK blocks stand out as much as possible, and it's not just lighting fest, but we have some really nice contrast, and you will see when we get into the EK parts why that is. So everything like in the background will be completely black. I don't know yet if I'll use acetal blocks or plexi blocks or nickel blocks. I'm still open to figure it out along the way, so I have a whole bunch of different EK samples behind me to try out. And one thing I would like to do is get the chat back so I don't miss what you're saying. It looks as though I'm gonna have to try logging in and out a few times, and remind me to move the mouse. after I figured out how many of these letters are capitals and how many aren't. Ah, nailed it. Okay. Okay. Got you back now on YouTube. Hey Snap, see you still there. Jake's there. Keeping you all hyped. And ZMT and DRGB is the way. I don't dispute that at all. But actually I won't be using ZMT for the inside of this build. I'll just be using ZMT for the outside. Maybe that gives away what case is coming. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the two huge radiators could be a telltale sign. I'll leave it as a surprise until we've played with the hardware. So I think first we'll start with the motherboard and build it up from there. That's normally my thought process in the build. First, I like to get the board out, mount all of the expensive pieces, and protect the socket and putting the CPU in, or protect the CPU in case of AMD. So this is what we get in the workstation board. Less fancy than Republic of Gamers, but nicely presented. Oh yeah. That is absolutely stunning. One thing this board doesn't have is an I/O shield, but it's not something that worries me. I kind of like it to look like a computer and not just masked shrouds everywhere, so I don't mind that. It's still completely monochrome. I can't see like any blue or red parts or even nasty stickers on there that I need to peel off, so this is a really nicely prepared motherboard. The heat sinks are just super stealthy, really minimal, and I'm sure they'll work in the kind of high contrast look that I'm going for. So let's check our little box of accessories. An I/O shield, that's something we don't see every day anymore. Normally permanently there. SATAs, we won't need those. I don't think. What is this interesting stuff? It's too big to come out of the box. I have no idea what this is. That looks interesting. Some kind of PCIe up here and fan mounts in the middle for sure. Okay. I don't think we'll be using it, but nonetheless interesting. And we got some little brackets. Ah, there's a picture on the back. Ah, this is a cooler to go on the front side of the graphics card. So it mounts here and these screws to the front of the case, and then this just blows air over the PCIe slots. Interesting. Not for us. SATA cables, again, not for us. Oh, tiny screws and standoffs for the PCIe. M2s, I might need those. Let's put that away. Keep it clean. Put the board to one side and check out this little box. Nice. I actually chose the version without the heatsink, surprisingly. Not because I don't like our heatsink, but because I knew it would go in the primary slot where the motherboard has the aluminium heatsink included, and I don't want to try prying one away. I see some people noticing a beautiful mouse man with the three magnitudes. We have the Intel, the Threadripper, and the AM4. Obviously the AM4 one will be coming, so we can put it in its place. Check how close they were on the sizing. Of course, soon TM. What else? And next up, the RAM. This is Crucial Ballistics Max. Like I said, I just opted for one of the fastest non-RGB kits still out there. There's lots of like budget kits that are all black, but not many high-end kits. I did try hunting for old G-Skill SKUs from when they used to be black on black, but they're just super hard to find, and I really didn't trust the retailer who said they had one in stock. So props to Crucial for still having active all black high-end RAM SKUs. I have two 2x8 gigabyte kits, so these are 4400 megahertz. I have no idea if the CPU will run that. I think that's pretty ambitious for this board. For a 4-DIMM board, maybe on a 2-DIMM board, that would be achievable, but nonetheless good for future builds perhaps, although maybe they'll not be using DDR4 anymore. I'll have to find out. Nudge my mouse. Any Velocity 2 or Vector 2 water blocks featuring in this build? Not yet. We don't have everything ready, so we want to present all of the EK Matrix 7 stuff together. So when we have a distro, when we have that CPU block ready, when we have the GPU blocks ready, then everything will come together. But we don't have it for the Radeon, which I'll be using yet. We have a sample for GeForce for the reference, so that will have to wait. Oh, not open my CPU. For the CPU, we have a 5900X retail, no cooler, a lovely little case badge. Again, I think that's something we don't need. I'm going to put it directly in the socket. My last experience building with AM3 didn't end so well, and I spent the afternoon straightening pins, so I learned that lesson a very long time ago. Wow, the triangle is tiny. Please go in. Okay, you can call me out as an Intel fanboy if necessary. There we go. That's safely away. I instantly feel a lot less nervous. I wasn't worried about the liquid cooling, but AMD pins really give me something to think about. Okay, it looks like it's time for the Radeon. Oh, that's lovely. Welcome to the red team. Actually had a long line of Radeons. I remain impartial on the on the GPU front, I had Pro Duos. I had a pair of Pro Duos, which was absolutely phenomenal. I don't think barely anyone had that setup. Before that, I had Fury X, 390X, 290X. So yeah, I've always had a great time with the Radeons, and this doesn't look like it will be an exception. This is just so epic for reference. Like I remember how my reference 290X looked, and this is just leagues apart. I will be almost ashamed to take it apart. Absolutely epic. Pretty big for a reference card, like wider, thicker, longer. Really neat. Hopefully it's more straightforward to take apart than Pro Duos. I'm gonna give the chat a nudge so I don't lose you. Will there be a momentum monoblock for the Crosshair 8? Absolutely. We will for sure try and cover the high-end Crosshairs, the high-end Maximus. I can't remember if one ran over from our previous one, if it was the Hero still fits. But yeah, we'll look into the Extreme for sure. Please don't bait me in the chat with upcoming releases from either party. Oh, look at that. Radeon keycap. Adds an epic Easter egg to find in the top of your box. Okay, so last but not least, sadly it doesn't have a box anymore, but this is one of my trusted EVGA T2 power supplies. I'll be using it again in this build. I've not used it much so far, so it still looks basically new, but I have managed to lose all of the cables somewhere in between England and Slovenia, so we have no choice but to make fully custom cables for this build. Not that we wouldn't anyway. Hope that the sleeving supplies in the backdrop also gave that one away. Okay, let's get this little M2 drive inside. Because I also feel that's a rather expensive and vulnerable item over there. I see now. I'm glad that Tom knew what the bracket was for. I had no idea. Okay, so we do need to install the little standoff. Kind of old school fitment for this. Like, I guess workstation stuff's always a little behind the times. No little latched connections, but hey, reliable. Is this right? Which iFixit size do I need? 5? Yes. Okay. Easy, easy, much easier than playing with pins. It has been a while since I was doing any builds. You saw on our last expo we actually rendered everything so we could show way more products. So it was before Christmas last time I was doing builds for EK for the January event and summer event, like I said. Renders, Don't forget to remove the thermal pad, the thermal pad backing. Nice little peel. I didn't get any peels on this motherboard yet. Maybe there is one. Maybe there is one. Nice. Lovely to know that the storage is dealt with and I don't need to play with anything else. Hope that's the right way. Anyway. If you can't stick around today, don't worry, you weren't gonna see the finish. There's no way we'll have absolutely everything done today. I'm just expecting to put everything on the board, try on some blocks, fit the block to the GPU, and then try it for the first time in the case. So you'll get to see a bit of an insight into my thought process on how the build takes shape, because I've never tried this in the case before. I don't know how the cabling is going to go. I don't know how the tubing is going to go. Hopefully I don't have to rush off and redesign the distro midweek. Oh, there will be a distro. So yeah, that's where we'll get to today, and then on Thursday you can come back and check making of the tubes, some final fitting of the cables, making sure that all works right. And then on Friday, maybe we'll get to fill it up and test it on if everything went smoothly. So, onwards today. It must be a beautiful case with dual 480s, it must. I'm not actually thinking I know for sure which case I'll be using. It's very special. When we've got this stuff together, played with the blocks, then I'll get it out and destroy the entire set so you can see it. Hopefully you can somehow figure out what's going on. So, okay. Thinking ahead to the CPU block, but let's try and around. Nope. I don't have to worry about which is the primary slot because we're going to use all of them. The only good option, I probably would have got better speeds and performance out of buying dual rank like 2 16 gig DIMMs, but I want to see this full. I think that this heatsink style will really complement the rest of the board. These are really nice, solid feeling, like, I don't know if it's machined, but still it's not plate aluminium. It's really heavy heat sinks. They feel really nice. I saw that you can remove the top and like 3D print replacements and interesting stuff, but I don't know how that goes. Maybe we have the tool for the job. Looks triangular, like a triangular socket, but I don't know, not there. So, the last DIMM, and let's check that out. It looks absolutely great. it's gonna have really nice contrast against the blocks and the tubing and everything that's to come. Like, just completely blacked out build. And it's awesome to think that I already have 2 terabytes of storage in there, 32 gig of RAM, 12 core CPU, and okay, could be ITX, but this is the one for today. And I'll leave it upside down because maybe that's the right way. Okay. PSU, we can move out, and let's tear this down to PCB. I wonder, I bet I don't have any tissues on the set. Might be needing those. Maybe they could magically slide in, that would be handy. Because we're gonna have some thermal paste to take care of. Or maybe it's AMD's weird graphite paste, actually. We'll try and keep all the screws in the right place. 2 more. It's actually really nice for us when there are 6 standoffs, because we have more area to pull down on the PCB to get a tighter contact on the thermal pad, and like basically the more pressure and the more even pressure we can apply to the PCB there, then the pads and the paste will compress much nicer. So the insane amount of screws that you see on reference Radeons takes a bit of time to fit, but it does mean that the block fits really nice. So we get to run like quite a tight interference on the we get to run a really tight interference on the gap between the memory module and the block. So that's always one reason why I like Radeons, no shortage of holes. Maybe it's a bit sad, but I like GPUs based on the block design and not the performance sometimes. First time coming apart. I don't think I ever turned it on. That is something I probably should have done. You should definitely do if you're doing a build. Turn it on air, because if you need to return it, you don't need to put everything back again. Okay, 1 million screws to go. It's nice that these screws have a different head, so I'll know where they came from. The screws with the spring stayed inside the brace. That mouse mount is doing a wonderful job. Oh, nice. Someone in the chat watching from a Fluid Gaming PC. It's lovely to have you on a stream. We put a lot of work into those systems, so it's nice that everybody can own one, that, you know, you can just order it and not go through this process, that you have the full experience ready to go. Here in North America, it's impossible to have any case except the PCO11. We have a PCO11 XL. That's out there, and now the Mini and whatever the Lian Li overlords allow you to have. Okay. I'm guessing we have 3 more here. I don't know why I feel I'm exempt from reading the manual after designing the block. This PAX, on which PAX? Yeah, this build will be on PAX West, so in Seattle in the beginning of September, so not that long to go. And we're building here in Slovenia now, so this needs to get shipped out there, the whole booth needs to get prepared, and then we're somewhat close. And I don't know if this screw needs to come out. We're going to take it out so I don't break it. And that seems to be absolutely everything which goes through the PCB, unless you can spot one that I've missed. Let's try and pry them apart. Just applying a little bit of pressure on all sides, just so the thermal pads start to give up. Not too much. It's actually a bit inconvenient. You can't get to the front edge because of the cooler. I don't want to end up with a banana PCB. There we go. Ooh. I lost you. I'll get you back soon. Let's just get past this critical moment. Okay, all the fan connectors are down at the bottom. Try to get down there. Here we go. Pretty tight, pretty tight. One's down. One more to go. There we have it. So let's carefully, if we can, keep these pads intact just in case. Obviously, just like as AMD's pads have a stickier side and a less sticky side. I'm losing it. What do we see? I agree. The 011 Dynamic is certainly an excellently thought out case, like just big enough, not too big, and it's really quite simple, like just one divide to make every compartment in the chassis. I think like it can become a problem, especially for liquid cooling, if you have a case with too many walls inside and you don't know like how to get through. It's not obvious. If they're structured and they have like pass-throughs in the right place for the radiators and it all comes together, and it's great. But if it's just kind of anyhow and you just have a really obstructive wall, I think this is the graphite-y stuff. So we're not going to get a big shine out of it. Luckily the big parts have been left behind on the cooler. So for my own sanity, I'm going to put this back together and I won't lose anything. Even though it's not the most interesting thing to see, you all should do it. You can read how to put the block on anytime, but best do this while it's fresh in your memory. And there were 3 little screws in the end. Gonna put those. Wait, no. I'm gonna use a single slot bracket, so I'm gonna take all of these out. It's nice that we have a single slot bracket for the Radeon. We also have it for the Founders Edition from NVIDIA. They look so clean in a build when you can't see it hanging down and you just have the single bar from behind. It used to be that, you know, you could stack 7 together, but I don't think anyone can find 7 of the same graphics card now. One more screw, trick screw. Don't drop the PCB, don't drop the PCB. There we go. Okay, so that was from here, or there. These little screws, I think we need to keep those to fit the single slot bracket. Everything else will be inside the block. So that means every other screw on the table should go back somewhere into this cooler. Any plans to bring back the 909EK? No. The 909EKs are all gone. Like, I don't think it would be fair to the 200 people who invested in one to just instantly duplicate it. So don't take that as we won't come back with another amazing case, but next time it will be different. Just like, you know, you don't have a literal copy of the InWin signature cases every time they sell out. It comes back in a different incarnation with improvements or addresses a different problem, a different aesthetic, and you know, in doing that they really move forward case design, and they find elements which can be used again. And it's the same story with us. If we make something super special, it's not just instantly repeated. And now I'm getting so excited about InWins that I'm just putting screws anywhere. Need him for the backplate. I wish EK would install thermal pads on their gear for the GPU. Yeah, I will probably be saying that later in the stream as well, but it's amazing just how many different SKUs we have, like how many different size thermal pads we would need. So when we were only selling like modest quantities of every individual block, it just wasn't feasible to do it. You know, if we had millions of one block going out, then it instantly makes sense, not just for you but also for us, because then we can ultimately use less thermal pad, because every little bit that you throw away, it's thrown away in duplicate for us. So it's something we'll work on, that we can be more efficient with thermal pads, and in doing that I expect we'll have to cut them. So good news for everyone. Would EK consider doing a water-cooled design case with integrated distro plates? Absolutely. I mean, we have the 303 EK, which is an InWin 303. We modified the front panel so there's like a really nice shaped window where our distro bolts through from the inside, and we did the 909 like Brian is talking about. So yeah, we had those. The 303 is still available. That was like an unlimited series, and 909 we chose just to make a small quantity, because it's something really special, and we want to keep it exclusive to those people who desperately needed it. And the 909 EK as a concept, it's quite an interesting story. It started out basically in the same way as this. So it was built as a mod for CES in 2018. I made it much like this, apart from, you know, back then I had a bit more time, the world wasn't so crazy, and no? Okay, now I'm back. So we just unveiled the quantum line, and I was looking for a case that I could put all the new quantum blocks in. So we had the new velocity, the new vector, the first time we'd ever shown them, and I wanted to find a case where I could put those on display. So I needed something where all of the radiators, like the fans and the long-standing EK parts, weren't too seen, and the GPU block and CPU block was center of attention. I just didn't really find anything, but the case which encapsulated the quality and the finish of the quantum line the best was, at that moment in time, the 909. It was pretty big, but the layout was really difficult for liquid cooling, so I actually completely removed all the internals, got a second 909, cut it in 2 places, and put that back inside, and then everything in between was custom fabricated from acrylic by Pavum Systems in the UK, and we got it all together in the show, like overnight, sent to CES, and when Inwin saw what they'd donated their 2 909 shells for, they were absolutely in love with it. So from there, it was quite a long process to get it into production, and by Computex the following year we had it done. So it was there in 2019, and I think all 200 was sold in about 1 year. Okay, so our cooler is back together. I can put it back in the box and forget about it. The beautiful box, but the good thing is you can't really tell it's not got the graphics card in, so it's gonna look great on the shelf somewhere. There it goes, back inside. You can tell I've done that a few times. Even though I've not used it, I have taken it out and then mined it on several occasions. So, there we go. Bye bye Radeon box. And let's go and find some more boxes. So here we go with the stuff. We have a backplate. This is a black backplate. I figured being like 100% black, I really don't want that to stand out. And then on the blocks, I've not entirely made up my mind yet. So I've got 2. I've got a copper acetal and I've got a nickel plexi. Now why have I got a copper acetal? I'm definitely not gonna put copper on show. But the copper acetal has a black handpiece, whereas the nickel acetal has a white one because it has the lights inside. So I wasn't sure if I'd make like 100% black one and put the nickel cold plate from the plexi on the copper one. Maybe something different with the terminal. So here I have another accessory. Again, not 100% decided if I'm using it. Just trying things out. So this is actually a terminal cover. And we make this so that if you have one of the flow indicators, or you have a scalar terminal on one of the short GPU blocks that doesn't have the full cover and you have nothing to put back on, you can put this on instead because it's much smaller than the plastic RGB cover. So I was thinking to use this one, maybe in combination with the original terminal, or maybe we'll get something even more special later in the week. So I got that. I got one of the old school terminals just in case, just to have it standing by. And let's get these two blocks out. Oh snap, so does Vulture. We have a bunch of vultures around the office, like from when people were doing the modding contest. A few of them actually came back to EK, so random people around EK have really old school vulture builds and like really cool different things. It's always fun to see them around EK. There's a single slot bracket for the card, accessories, pads, and the nickel plexi block, which it does look good. Does look good. Clean up my stuff a little bit so I'm not blocking you guys. And do the same thing again just to annoy the cameraman. He's having a great time. So there we go, 100% black and the super shiny nickel and plexi, but still all black pieces. Maybe I'll need to get a bit more into this before I can decide where the build's going. So backplate box, remember you need to open both ends because this one has the screws inside. So many people get backplates and they don't have screws. People calling out for all black. Yeah, you might be right. Acetal distro, come on Jake, we said we're not going there. We're not doing distro redesigns in the middle of a week. It's not fair for the machinists, all the machines, poor guys. Yeah, this is a lot black is excellent. Okay. I think I'm gonna need to see the CPU block and decide what I'm doing with everything in the build before I can pick. Honestly, don't know just yet. In the meantime, so I don't lose those tiny screws, I'm gonna put this on. Oh, they are tiny. That's one. Yep, not a redesign to make an acetal distro. Yeah, I guess. what else can I see? Will we see a white diffuser for that block eventually? So if you want to have a white diffuser for the Radeon, then you should just get the DRGB nickel version. And if you want all black, then that comes on the copper version, which is basically the entry point for old school people who just wanted all black and no nickel plating. Because some people want to run like silver inside the loop and other stuff that doesn't get along with nickel plating. That's why historically we had the copper option, but really everybody desperately wants nickel, so not so popular. I think I'm done with my tiny screwdriver bit. I'll go back to the big one. Right. So that's safe. And place these somewhere I can see them, but not center of attention for you, and we will go and get all of the magnitude parts. Okay, so much like last time, I have a few special pieces that aren't available to order. This is a black frame which comes from the acetal versions, and the black mounting mechanism from the acetal versions, because I figured this is going to sit nice on the board. Then I have a DRGB accent. This is in the shop, so if you have a copper version and you want to upgrade it, or you have a full nickel, you can add the RGB to it. You get the white like translucent frame and the dent strip which comes inside all digital magnitudes. If you have a plexi, then it faces inwards, and if you have an acetal, then it faces outwards, but it's always the same part. I don't think I'll need the strip. And then this is a blue accent. I know I said I want it to be all black, but it's going to PAX, they're blue, so if it's going to have any color, it's going to be blue. And what quantity, I don't know. I also need to decide on the sleeving, which you can see in the back. So I think we'll take the magnitude apart, like play combinations. You guys can tell me what you think, and I'll arrive at some sort of decision. Maybe. So this is a full nickel magnitude. And hopefully it has all the right parts. I don't need the thicker jet. I think I have the right one. The nickel mounting mechanism I probably won't use. I will probably use the black one. We've got a thermal paste, and maybe I'll need that to spread the paste. Box mounting is coming along nicely. Let's see how good fit it was on the mouse pad. Nice. And hit it with the peel. Okay. Let me catch up with everybody. You can order spare pieces from support. That's always been a possibility. Like if we're not gonna sell hundreds of something, we can't list every single thing in the site. There's so many different combinations of products, but if you see some part that exists in EK and think, damn, like I could build excuse me, I could build mine so much better if I had it. Like I decided that I wanted to try the black frame with nickel for like a high contrast look. Then you can politely request parts from support to do the same thing, and if we notice like 1 million people are all requesting the same part, then it will end up in the shop. But that's not happened many times. Normally we know what to do, what not to do, so accents, frames, maybe one day. Okay. Time to break out the hexagons. Yeah, I need a bigger hexagon. One thing we're not going to do with the full nickel is strip the threads. Otherwise, like taking blocks apart, you can definitely, even with just a screwdriver, over tighten. So it's definitely, I would say, a mistake with a plexi block to use the full side of even our small Allen keys to tighten it. You should just use the long side, and you know that will restrict the amount of torque you put through the screw. And if it's threaded into acetal or plexi, that's a good idea, because you don't need too much. Like tighter won't make it leak less, it will either leak or not. So don't hammer it down. If you tightened it loosely and it leaks, chances are something else isn't quite right. One of my first reservoirs, I like configured it with different parts back in the X3 system, and I got like an optional multi-port top, and I put it together, and when I put everything back together, I lost one of the O-rings, and I was filling my build, and it just like slowly dripped from the bottom of the res. I was like, oh my god, like my res is defective, but I built it, so I just tightened it a bit more, thinking, you know, more tighter, more better. And I tightened it until it stopped leaking, pretty tight. And years later, like 3 years later, when I was rebuilding it and I reconfigured the reservoir and discovered it didn't have the O-ring inside, I just tightened it until it mated the plastic together, which I don't recommend. So, you know, if something needs that much force, you probably made a mistake. This is the original jet from an AM4 magnitude. This is 0.5 millimeter stick, and the optional one you get is 0.6. I'm pretty confident that the CPUs in reality are all really flat, so I would go with 0.5 to start, and if you find that it's not making contact in the middle, change to 0.6. But 0.5 should be the go-to for sure. And there you see the insert, and well, that's a good point. Which way is the flow gonna go? Yeah, I need to check that. And the frames, they actually have a big O-ring around the outside. If you order one without the LED, so that this still fits really nice, there's an O-ring pressed around the outside. So if it feels like it's stuck, it doesn't fit badly, it just has this inside. So if we choose a combination with no LED, we'll put that back. So let's see what we can make. Remember to put that back. I'm going to take off the AM4-iness from the board and replace it with our mounting mechanism, so we can try it in place. Okay, there's the original back plate. Gonna put it back. My plan for the extreme was only black part and acetal. Okay, so 100% black. Plan is full black CMT, super low maintenance. Yeah, I would say 100% black, but true to original form, I'd like the EK parts to stand out. So rather than like what I had before was entirely monochrome and then the EK parts had blue inside, I'm trying to make everything in the background entirely black, and then the foreground parts, the fittings, the tubes, the CPU block will be like bright finishes. Now it's time for the mounting. Because it's my motherboard and I'm allowed, I'm not going to use the little washers. Hope no one's angry. Don't get too triggered. Reason being, they're not black. Maybe I even have some black washers in my toolbox. Excuse me one moment. Nope. Everything I found on there was rubber, so that's going to be a problem because I fit through. Okay, we'll come back to that. Something for Thursday. Remind me on Thursday. Please subscribe. Come back on Thursday and remind me. Yeah, you forgot the white washers are still there again. Go and find black ones. So the trick with backplates, people can struggle, is just don't tighten the first one. Leave it really loose and then come back for the next one and tighten them all at the end. You know, once you've started them all, it will go really nice. Just line up the rubber. Oh, what have I done? I'm being an Intel scrub again. Old habits. This is AM4. I don't use the corner ones. I use the end ones. That makes more sense. Through that and into the back plate. Here it comes. Now it should be no problem to find the other two. Okay, now they're all started. It will be pretty easy to tighten them all up. Just go corner by corner. I won't go crazy because I need to take them out to put the washers in. Okay, I lost you guys, so I'm gonna get you back. Uh-huh. 925 with a red magnitude frame. Yeah, that was actually the standard copper block. Okay. Really great FF fittings. Yep, I have some of those for the build. Please make the backplate black. Okay, it's something we'll look into. One tricky part about the backplate is we only have like 2.5mm to play with to fit that in. Not so much for AMD, but for Intel. There's like 2.5mm clearance for stuff on the board, and then there's 2.5mm space until you start hitting ATX spec in the case. So if it's only 2.5mm, it needs to be steel, and then the economical finishes are generally silver and not like anodized black. You know, if it was aluminium, it's too thin to have that rigidity. Okay, but let's try some combinations. So first, black and blue. I'll try not to drop my motherboard. I don't need that to be my gimmick. Nice. Pretty nice combination. The block looking really bright there in the middle and just a fine line of blue. Not bad. Not bad. One factor is definitely how well I can match the blue with the cable sleeving. As to if I choose blue. So in that case, like if I choose something that doesn't really match the blue, then I think this is the next best. So nickel black has like a really great look with the board. I think like the black edge of the frame looks really neat against like the strong edges of the RAM and heat sinks. So definitely going for black frame, not the natural color one. But let's see. Let's go and check out the blues. What case will be used? We'll get to that when I've decided on the block, when I put it together, and then I'll make the GPU block the complements, then we'll get the case out and we'll try them inside, and that will be the end of our stream today. So let's see. You can have gold ring for the fittings, but have gold rings for the CPU block. Yeah, we have at the moment anodized gold for everything. So you can get this in like matte anodized gold, and you can also get the torque rings in the matte anodized gold. When we add gold, real gold, and change the names so we know which one's which, we don't call it gold and gold, it's not the best, then we will also see if we add real gold for the brackets. But one thing that we need to take care of is that the material that the part's made out of matches the material that the gold one is made out of. So the fittings are brass and the gold will look the same on every fitting, but these, when they're colored, are aluminium, and the color rings on the fittings are aluminium, so gold plating on the aluminium might not match exactly the gold plating on the brass. So goldier gold, goldist, golder. It's an attempt. You should do more of these videos to showcase everything you can do with DK. Absolutely, and the more extreme the better. Yeah, basically this is our first time. You're here ahead of us even introducing the space, introducing the studio. It's the first time we've tried it out live, and I think things are going really nicely. If you're all enjoying it and subscribing to it, then more and more will come. And yeah, things will get more extreme. We need to get familiar with our equipment. We need to make a mess a few times and see how it works. For this, because we have like 1 week until PAX, until it has to leave until PAX, sorry. I, no matter what, needed to unbox everything, take a look, plan the build today. So no extreme stuff today. Just my thoughts, me unboxing, how it goes together, and we'll see where it goes. So these are the sleeves which I thought I would use for the cables. This is turquoise and black woven together, so turquoise carbon, and this is a really nice blue, which I thought would be a good match for our blue. But I don't know, some lights, yes, this is definitely the most PAX-like blue, but it's maybe a bit too neutral for our blue. Last time I did the very first quantum build, I used these blue accents, and I used this. This is MDPCX B Magic, but again, not 100%, because this time I won't have any other blues. I won't have any I won't have any blue coolant. I won't have many other blue parts. I want it to be a really tight match, and I don't think that's doing it. So I'd love to see what you think. Green or blue? Well, turquoise or blue? Like, where are you at, guys? Let's check. Everyone still wanted to see what the case is. Not long to the reveal. Just need to power through this decision, assemble everything. Yeah, you did not align the rubber backplate properly. Yeah, I was being an Intel fanboy. Sorry. You should do a collab with Gamers Nexus. Tection G. Battle of the hair. Yeah, I think we need the air hair and the water hair. I can do the whole stream with wet hair. Budget build? Yeah, absolutely, why not? What's the other middle of the back? What did you see, Jake? What did you see, dude? On the back I have a bunch of grey stacked up, but just like filler in case I decide to make a bit of a spectrum. 4, 5 blues, 1 turquoise. 6 blues. Jake likes the green turquoise. Okay. Turquoise and matte coolant. Maybe. Seems to be a bit of a blue landslide. So if it is blue, does that mean blue for the CPU as well, or neutral there? Another decision. To the 3 in the power you set aside. Let me go and get the other sleeves, Jack. Oh no, these ones. These blues. Yeah, so this is B Magic. This is Grand Blue, and I like it a lot, and I don't have much left. And this one is blue. So this is MDPCX blue. And this one was discontinued some time ago. But yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think I can get more though. Yeah, that's maybe the last blue there is, Jake, so I think that's out. Yeah, that blue, blue. Yeah, okay. One more vote for blue. Sounds like a lot of blue. It would be so cool if you're able to do a nickel CPU block and match it with a metal tubing. Wouldn't that be cool, Calvin? He's seen what's coming on the whole stream. Damn. One more vote for blue. Okay. Let me just go get some more stuff. Some more and more complications will help us decide, right? Let's get the whole palette on the table. Everything available. So, this is the tube that we're going to have for the build, no matter what. This is EK's very first sample of satin titanium on brass tube. So this is what's going in the center, and this is why I said I want the tubing and the blocks to stand out against the hardware. So no problems there. And that means I also need to make sense of the accents, the frames, the fittings. Eddie's in the chat. That's nice to see. I found her hanging out on the stream. He says blue color accents will never make AMD CPU and Intel. Yeah, that's a good point actually. I just joined Team Red and now you're all voting for blue. What's that about, guys? Is this a sign to go back? Did I make a mistake? Life hacks there. So yeah, let's get one of each so I don't get confused. Which way can you see best? I'm hiding these for you guys. Where can you see the fittings? Titanium fittings with blue? Yeah, maybe, but we also have titanium bases, titanium compression rings, blue color rings, black color rings, black bases, and the blue accents, just to make it as confusing as possible. I mean, one thing that really 100% matches the block, I think, would be to have blue ring with the satin top like that. And then the same on the CPU side. That's nice for sure. What can we see in the chat? One more vote for blue. Titanium fittings with blue ring. The top blue, yeah, okay, I see. So Snef is suggesting, yeah, just throw that over there. Blue blue over a silver base, which is really similar to what we had with the blue special edition. It did work really good too. Maybe black top, silver bottom? Okay. Both pretty good. I think that the silver against the tube is a much better look than the blue against the tube. What do you guys think? So all silver into like the black base versus the blue into the silver, it kind of like stands against the tube. I think that's not quite right, and it's a bit too much blue. I think this is like maximum blue I want to go. I think the blue rings are out. Silver against. Yep, blue is too much. Black fittings with the blue ring. And make the blue sharper. Okay, let's try black with blue. If it was black with blue, then I guess we don't need the blue ring on the inside. This is great fun. Now we have a billion combinations, and I don't know how you guys decide. I have every single one at my disposal, and it's still a tough decision. It's pretty nice, but I've also got to think like this is gonna go into the rotary that's gonna go onto the block. And if it's like silver, blue, black, silver, you know, it's a bit much. Maybe this should be like entirely silver, so the base is silver and blue ring on the full satin fitting, like when it comes into the satin rotary, it's a bit smoother. Maybe I'll ignore all of you because this is complicated. I'll go with green. I think that's pretty nice. So nickel rings with blue collar and black. Jake, I don't have nickel rings here. I need to get every fitting. Contemplation time. I think no matter what, the CPU block is black silver. I'm gonna build it. I'm gonna leave the blue in. Put it on the board. We'll make the GPU block, and then yeah, black blue satin seems like a winner. But let's get ourselves out of this contemplation zone and get some progress done. Otherwise, we'll wait until PAX. So if we have an inverted build, the block's gonna go this way. That means we need to put our insert in accordingly. Where's our insert? Anybody seen it? There it is. So because the chiplets of the Ryzen die are at the bottom, that means we also need to turn the insert for the magnitude to point down. It's far more important that the position of the focus of the flow is over the dies than it is the direction of the flow. So the direction of the flow will just make a minor difference to the restriction of the block. You know, it won't bleed through quite so nicely. So that will add a little bit of restriction. But if the flow is all going over the I/O die and not the chiplets in either direction, then it sucks. So when configuring magnitudes, it's always best just to run this down on AM4, and that means we're going to assemble in the only other version you can do other than this, and that's like to invert the branding. So we'll put that together. Blue frame, blue accent, sorry, black frame. We'll have magnitude visible from the side that way. Then we'll get our O-ring, set that down. Jet plate 0.5 to get the jet plate to stay. Helps just to bend it a bit. And then when the cold plate compresses it, it moves like into place. It doesn't fall out. So that will stay solid there. And then the cold plate will go in with the marking corresponding to the marking on the frame. It doesn't actually make any difference if it's 180 degree rotated. If it's 90 degree rotated, it won't fit. These holes, while they look square, are just a tiny bit rectangular, and they prevent anyone from goofing up and mounting it sideways. So you can't assemble a magnitude wrong, which is great news for customization like this. You're free to do anything. And if you have full nickel, you're free to over tighten it. So we'll just go over them one more time. Just using the short side, that's enough. Okay. All good. Is that it? Thought I'd messed up my CPU there. No, it's all good. And the black mounting, because we have the black frame, is all over the desk. Just built in a Be Quiet Silent Base 802. Nice. That was also inverted. Right, is that one of the Be Quiets that you can flip? Oh no, it's that time when the tools get lost. What's going on here? Where's the... Did I put it back in the box? No. Okay. I don't have a very nice fit with this Allen key for some reason. So I'm just going to leave it loose. I know I need to take it off to put the paste inside, and the loose screws will remind me. We'll just put it so that it doesn't rattle. Okay. There we go. Board and CPU properly together with some nice fingerprints. Good work, me. I think you made an okay choice with the blue. Parts which should go back into something. Yeah, and that. And that. Onto the GPU block. Let's see what we can do to match this up. So we don't have any blue, but we do have the possibility to swap on this little guy instead. Pretty nice. Looking pretty good, not against the copper. Definitely need to put the nickel cold plate on, but otherwise I'm thinking all acetal is the way. What do you say, guys? Any thoughts on the... There it is. Let's put these away. Any thoughts on the Plexi versus acetal for the GPU? Or acetal. Okay. Acetal this, so that means I just need to swap on the cold plate. Should be fine. Luckily all the screws are the same, so should be straightforward. You'll see again, like I was saying earlier, nothing is super tight with water blocks. Like there's no reason for anything to be torqued to incredible tightness. Once the O-ring is compressed, it's compressed. You can't tighten it anymore, because once it's occupied the volume of the channel which it fits inside, then there's nowhere to go. So you just put stress into the plexi, into the material, stretch the screw thread, and you don't really make it any safer. So the trick is that everything's evenly tightened, correctly tightened, and not over tightened. So in doing this, I'm going to get rid of all the RGB, which is convenient. So plexi is gone. Left with the cold plate. Sorry if you can't hear me too great. Maybe I'm talking down a bit too much at the work. I'm glad we had 3 guys for full acetal, so I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, I see someone spotted that I forgot the thermal paste in the CPU. Absolutely, I know it's gonna come off again. This is just going to mock it up. I want to change those little white plastic washers, so I'm just leaving it all loose and without paste to remind me. I don't want to put it on for no reason, just to clean it off. So that's like that. So there's our acetal ready to go onto the plexi. Just going to line up the holes and set it down. Check that the jet plate's still properly inside its little slot. No problem. Nice. I'm just going to put every single one in really loose now, just until I feel the O-ring start to tighten, and then when it's evenly down I'll just run around and nip them up. Plexi with blue RGB might look good. It might look good. I also thought maybe the RGB could make the cool green turquoisey color, but it seems we're going this direction. I think there's enough other eye candy in the build for this to work out in the end. If it's going to be custom tubing, yeah, I just showed you the tubing, guys. This is the first satin titanium tube we have. This is 1012. This will be on the interior of the system. So if I bend it, I will damage the plating, so I'm not going to be bending it, and we only have two pieces that are pre-bent. I don't want to cut them up, so we will be using the female fittings. We don't have much tubing, and it's all really straightforward with the distro, so we will go with the females and do it all fittings. And yeah, then maybe on the females the all satin fittings are going to look good. We'll see. That's the job for tomorrow. The important thing is we decided on a GPU block. So everything is now tightened down just right. Just triple checking that they're all the same. There we go. Some RGB is hard to match. Yeah, absolutely. When everyone's saying that RGB has an infinite amount of color options, I always say, what about brown? You can make a dark orange, but like achieving dark colors is really tough. So there we go with the block. I guess it's time to prepare our card, cut the thermal pads, get into all that stuff. I'm not going to worry too much about putting that back together because I don't think anyone wants a copper plexi with the RGB. We'll keep this standing by in case we want to swap it on. I think with all black the satin looks much better. I don't know what you guys think. It could look good in the build, but you know, this can always be checked like last minute. I really wish you'd stop preferring nickel plated GPU blocks with acetal tops. What would you like to see? Typically like copper acetal is always a entry point version, but everyone buys nickel, so it's nickel. absolutely. If you're thinking about custom loop, I think this is a really nice build to watch. It's going to have a mixture of soft tubing, a mixture of hard tubing, so you'll get to see both kinds in action. It's actually metal tubing, so we won't be doing any bending, but we'll be doing really nice accurate cutting, and then from that we'll probably mock it in plexi first, so you'll get to see some plexi cutting, then replicate it in metal because we don't have a million miles of the satin titanium sample. When that's all done, then it will be the usual process of final assembly, looking everything. We'll do completely custom cables, which is probably quite in-depth for a first build, but nonetheless, hope you'll enjoy seeing it. So, where are we at with this PCB? Thermal pads for the Radeon are entirely 1mm. So no real way for it to go wrong. The backplate pads, okay, they're two different thicknesses. I'll check. So now we're gonna have to cut these. I'm just gonna place them on where they will go and delicately touch them with a scalpel, and then I'll pull them off and cut them. And put each pad in place. Put it sticky side down, so hopefully it stays on the PCB. It makes it a bit easier to manage. So that's the one side. And nickel plating. I'm sorry to hear about your bad coolant, telegraph. Like, nickel's always a tricky one. You can't abuse it, need to be really careful, like no distilled water for too long. But if you're always using quality coolants, it's nice to look at. Not quite big enough for both ICs, so I'll just cut this to one. I need another piece for the next IC. Oh, the thin side. I think this is the hardest part really about the thermal pads, is not cutting them, but taking off the thin side. Clean a VK nickel plexi block using Mayhem's pastel for 3 years. Block look perfect. Yeah, sadly, like, that's how it goes. There's a little bit of luck. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes you have some deposits. If they do get stuck, then like stuck coolant damages the nickel quite easily. It's a bit worrying. You should offer the black M piece with the nickel version. Black on nickel. Yeah, it's nice, black on black, but then this is like a really unique case because not many people want to have no RGB. So at that time, like, all black wasn't possible. But in the next generation, the Vector 2 blocks, which are coming, we're going to have all black and the RGB at the same time. So where we have like this part break between the old end piece and the standard, there's going to be like a really fine stripe with the illumination. So you don't have to have a big white piece when you turn it off, but you still have some illumination. So we realized like that is what people ultimately wanted, was the RGB and all black. We saw on Magnitude that the acetal DRGB version performs really well, and gathered like because you have such a fine edge visible, people really prefer that. So that's what we'll do with the next generation of Vector as well. Right, so continuing with these thermal pads, now need like a thin strip for both banks of FETs. So I'm going to cut it right down the middle and then cut it to length for each set. Don't like stab the PCB, but just like make a little dimple on the thermal pad if you choose to do it this way, and then make a clean cut when it's off the PCB because the insulation on PCBs is really thin. So this one's going to go down on this line of FETs. This is like the main heat producing component on the VRM. So these little tiny FETs each around 1 watt of waste heat, because they step down the voltage from 12 to 1, and in doing so waste a little bit of power, whereas the other power components on the board, they're just to stabilize the voltage. So they don't waste much. The inductors really don't need active cooling at all, but they do have a tendency to vibrate. So we put thermal pads on them just to trap them so they can't move too much, and that quietens them and hopefully gives you the silent water cooling experience you should come to expect. That's not always the case. Also depends on how the board's engineered a little bit, what type of inductors and how many are used. And then we also contact a few minor components with this block. These little voltage controllers and stuff. They don't use much power, but hey, we have the copper there. We can make a little contact just to give you peace of mind. Okay, so is that a GPU? I've read about them existing in history books and never seen one. Yep, that is a GPU, an AMD reference GPU. Not so many of those around. That is one really sad thing for us. Like this generation, the availability of reference cards and actually being referenced has been really tough on us. If we want to make a compatible block for like the majority of users in the past, we just had to make one block, reference, done. Everyone can get it from any supply chain anywhere in the world with any manufacturer, but not this time. None of the AMD partners seem to be using the reference board. It was just the initial release, so the ones you got with the cooler I had have it. Oops. Okay, forget that bit. Yeah, the reference cooler I had got the reference PCB, but not many of the custom coolers got the reference PCB. And in the NVIDIA camp, it's even more extreme because you have the Founders Edition, which isn't reference, but it's definitely one one of the cooler options. Okay, so where are we at now? This little guy, and we need one pad for that little guy there, and then the inductors. It would be nice to have a glorious assistant. My fingers are a bit massive for this job. I regret not taking the backing off the entire strip before cutting it. Here we go. One there. Okay, so that's these guys, this, that's there, and there. That little contact patch, 2 RAMs, 2 banks of RAM, and the other FETs. So just inductors, and probably not those. Okay. Boop. Oh no, I've lost you guys. Where are you at? I think one mistake I made there is that the pad for the inductors is a bit too wide. If it doesn't go inside the clearance, then it will get a bit in the way. So just gonna trim that. Perfect enough. Okay, I would love to see UK pre-apply thermal pads. Yep, said that earlier in the stream, and the feels is now real. I did like 1 million of these in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure I fitted more EK blocks than any other human, and I understand. Oh, there's another contact here, but the chip is not populated, so I won't waste any time making a pad for that. And time for the thermal paste. I would like it to be a bit cleaner, but it's about as clean as Radeons get with the like graphite pads on the standard one. So we'll make a long cross. Whoops. Yep, lovely mess of that. The good thing about Ectotherm, the paste which we supply with GPU blocks, is it squashes really easily, so you can't really get it wrong. So long as you have enough in there, it will find its way out. Might need something under this just to give me a bit more space to put it down. It's always good to like hang off the back edge, and that way you have space for the IO bracket. It's not such a problem with a single slot, but if you have two, then it's a big deal. So just put the block on something and then screw it down. There are no screws sticking out from where I changed them, so that's all good. And there we go. It's useful to have the backplate in this situation, so you can just quickly refer to like where the screws don't go. Because if you're going to fit the backplate, then you need to leave the holes corresponding without anything inside. We need the short screws and the washers. I know we will need all 6 around the core. And before summer, you can't have too much thermal paste, guys. I didn't go full verge on it, so good. Did you like designing a cooler for the RTX FE card since it's not reference? Yeah, it was the most fun we had designing a block this time. Like when we saw how absolutely insane the PCB itself was, then you know it was a cool chance to go insane with the block for the FE. So that was a really nice project to do, and I think that block like inspired so many new users who saw it. You'd be so upset if you had one of the FE coolers and you had to take it off for a conventional looking block. So I was really happy we did that. We actually got a design award for that block, and it's certainly one of my favorites. So yeah, that was awesome. It was also great fun making the Radeon reference block. We managed to release it on the launch day. It was featured in like the keynote for the Radeon graphics card, if you watched to the end, which was really epic, and they really helped so we could make it on time, like have stock in our shop at the exact moment the GPUs were available to buy. So it's really fun working with Radeon on that. What is my favorite EK product? Ooh, that is a phenomenal question. Yeah, the special edition Radeon, but also this block is actually based on the same design. So we had all three at the same time. Basically, you get it either with the plexi top, with the acetal top like we have here, or the special acetal top with the Radeon plate inside. They're all the same cold plate. Like we designed like all three in unison, so they would share parts, and that was really cool. Back to what my favorite EK product is. I have two products which I like so much that I won't ever use them. I have the first magnitude that ever went on sale. So even though you know, I was involved in designing it and I had a million samples at work, I decided I would buy it like the exact second it released. So I have the first one that ever shipped. That's really cool. I would never even consider using it. I took it out of the box once, put it back, and then I also have the anniversary edition block. Again, I think I was the first person to click buy like 38 seconds after it launched. But again, I wouldn't use it. I really love the wave one that's inside, the old school one. But those two sit together in my collection of EK blocks, and they would have to be my favorites. No problem for answering, host. If you have anything else, I've got to be here doing this build anyway, so I'd love to talk to you guys. What material is the mousepad service? I don't know. It's just, I just found it. Beautiful. And let me not get distracted from the screws. Don't need that one. Need that one. I need that one. I need the one underneath the badge. I feel unbelievably slow at fitting this block today. I guess I'm a bit distracted by you guys. Back in the day I was doing like 7 blocks at the same time and it seemed to take this long. Anyway, put one screw here for the IO bracket, but this one shouldn't need a washer. Wait, where's the standoff at? Feels a bit misaligned. And you get a tiny one to loosen it. I don't know if I put the IO bracket on a bit wonky. Now the blocks come, it doesn't want to fit perfectly, so best thing is to just loosen the others up and try. There we go. Back. How do you determine how many screws do you need to mount the backplate? Is it prior knowledge or does it depend on the card? So in terms of when installing, you obviously need the number of screws as correspond with the holes. And to check where you need to put the short 4mm screws, just put it everywhere where there's no hole here, because you can't put 2 screws in the hole. And when we're designing the blocks, we basically look to distribute the screws as evenly as possible. So if there's like a line of thermal pads, then we want to have a screw at each end, screw somewhere along the middle if it's a really long line, and then we have like even pressure on the whole board so that it doesn't twist over the thermal pads, and it touches as good on the middle fet as it does on the fet at the end. So that's basically how the screw placement goes. And in terms of the backplate, it's the same story. The backplate is obviously a lot more rigid than the PCB, so we don't need as many, but still these are placed like roughly at each end of where the fets are, so where the thermal pads go. Is that straightforward? It's just a case of mounting pressure and that it doesn't twist. And then anywhere where the backplate shouldn't touch the board, there's a clearance, and there's normally a contact so that you couldn't ever squeeze it together. If you grab the graphics card by its power connectors or at the back here, you wouldn't push the backplate into these tails from the power connector soldering. I'm going to go over and tighten these because I was heavily distracted by you guys. I work at a PC repair shop and we have a box of EK water blocks that we can't get the screws out. If you can't get the screw out, it was definitely over tightened. And generally then it will pull the standoff out of the cold plate and you can replace the standoff. That's why we have the standoffs as a separate component. So if you damage the thread or if you get it stuck, then you can pull it apart. Obviously if you get it stuck through the PCB, then the only course of action is if you can like get the standoff in a vice grip or something. At that point it doesn't matter, you should throw it away. You shouldn't try and reuse it. So if you can grab the thread and undo from the front side, and as a last resort like drill on the middle of the screw head. These screws are all M2.5, so a 2.5mm drill and the head will fall off. As simple as extracting a rivet. So it's not nice if you have to do it, but yeah, when you're doing hundreds, it happens. I've done it before for sure. But we try and design them in such a way that if that unfortunate thing happens, it doesn't write the block off. It might seem a bit obsessive what I'm doing with the screws, but they're good. Okay, so onto the backplate thermal pads. I believe that we have the thin ones over the FETs and the fat ones over the core and the RAM. But I'm gonna try that out. So this is what we got. These thin guys go along here on each strip of FETs. So I'll cut this in half through the middle. And then this big one goes on the core. Can you test Jake's memory? You absolutely can test Jake's memory. Sometimes it's pretty good. Vector 2 GPU blocks will be coming along before the end of the year. We will have a whole range to show on CES, and you can expect like big availability of all versions then. In the meantime, the For the Win 3 and reference will be a priority. Completely understand you, Kool-Aid. We have a lot to do. It can't all come at once. Like we need to prepare the distribution plates, the CPU blocks, the GPU blocks, the radiators, so that it all makes sense together. Like when it arrives, you won't have a new distribution plate and an old radiator and be like, oh, this doesn't really help, guys. What the hell were you doing with Metric 7? you know, it only really works when you have everything. So we have a massive amount of stuff to do all at the same time. Everything's in progress. Things are pretty crazy, I can assure you, and everything's on the way. So when we say like it's all coming this year, that means like planning until the end of the year. I think we'll see the first Matrix 7 products arrive in October. Maybe some will just sneak into September, we'll see. But until it's all there, then I don't think a monster purchase will make sense. You should stick with what we have, because ultimately what we have works quite well with the other things. And when you start mixing in the Matrix 7 stuff, it will make less sense. As you know, we're changing the CPU blocks to have the ports vertical, so an old distribution plate with the new block is a bit annoying. The new one with the old one, same story, but old and old was quite livable when you have the right offset for things. I think that's everything I'm going to do for the backplate. For now, if it fits, I'm going to assume I did it right. So now I need to find the little backplate screw pack to get the very longest. We're also gonna have lots of like how-to content coming, so if you want to check how your specific GPU block goes together, or you know how the active backplate goes on, or whatever specifics, you should keep checking the YouTube channel. Like get a sub in, and you'll see lots more content from this studio coming. Oh hey Andy the Lab, great to have you. We hope you enjoy a fast PAX build. I saw someone ask if we're excited for PAX. Absolutely, but not many of us are going to get to go because of the global situation, but I think at least 1 or 2 people from Slovenia will make it. I don't know if I will. I'd certainly love to go. Sounds like a really fun, balanced event, so I hope I get to go at least one time. I think we'll have more than one booth there in the next year, so I hope I make one of them. And the American team behind Flute Gaming will obviously be attending. Oh great, now we have a GPU block. If it's looking flat. I think I was right with the pads. I'm actually just going to check for once. Why is EK not supporting mid and low end GPUs? We go down right now to the 3070 and the 6700. We think that's a good sweet spot considering the investment you have to make for the entire loop. When we have like cheaper designs available for GPUs, then we might consider going even lower. Looks like the contact was pretty good, but I have made an imprint of the vector text on there, so I think that maybe it was a bit too much pad on the core, especially at the top. Okay, there we go. 3060 don't need a water block. I mean, everyone can benefit, but a while ago, like when you got to a low-end card, you had a really small cooler and it just wasn't quiet. But now even the entry-level cards, like they figured out people desperately want massive coolers. They want them to be quiet, and they're really well balanced. Certainly the cost of adding a block doesn't make much sense, but the cost of adding an entire loop, it's a big stretch. And there's always the possibility that everything goes back to its MSRP, and then 3070s are not that high end anymore. Taking notes for thermal pad installation. I wouldn't say I'm doing it perfectly, you know. I'm doing it for me and what I remember from when I designed the block, and I'm not following the instructions. But yeah, I checked properly that everything made contact, everything touched, like I didn't end up with a bent back plate. I could see when I took the back plate off that there was bumps in all the right places, that it made contact in the critical parts, so I'm completely happy. So now we have our board roughly together, we have our block roughly together. I think it's time we clean up, get the case out, surprise you all, and I will start thinking about exactly where the tubes are going to go, how the cables are going to work, and that's that. So bear with me for a moment while I clean up the desk and whip out the massive box. Maybe I can just do a desk swipe. I'm glad you liked the build, Kool-Aid. The board, sorry. Yeah, it also really stood out for me. I wanted to make it unconventional because I won't have like crazy time to invest in making custom parts for this build. So choosing like slightly odd components was a really nice way to make it at least a bit unique. I won't use these, I might need the last thing I want is a little screw left behind scratching up the case. Okay, I think this is a moment a lot of you have been waiting for. So, I think some of you have been guessing what this might be. And they've been quite accurate. We've had a few hints already. And this will probably give it away. So I don't know if any of you guys have seen these before. Let's set them down. Okay, guys. It had to be, really. Of course, it was the 909EK, and this is actually the last 909EK that we had. It's really amazing to have it at all. We didn't like reserve millions of these for our own use. We didn't have a million media samples. That was just 200. This one is not number 200, confusingly. It's 164, but this was the last one that was at EK. So really awesome to have it for the build, and that's also another reason why I didn't want to go crazy with the modification, because this is such an elegant case to begin with, and being the final one, I didn't want to, you know, do anything risky with it, or do anything that I might think distasteful one day in the future. So I'll try and preserve it as perfectly as possible. Looks like we have some peeling to do. I'm gonna peel my side first. Let's try and do your side a little better and get it in one piece. And there it is. Yep, just like Snap said, two 480s and inverted. That pretty much had to be this from the EK house. So now I need to locate my accessories. We'll put the standoffs into the plexi because they're not actually fitted from factory, and then we'll put the board in, put the graphics card in, and have a little look to wrap us up for the end of the day. I think I need another little baggie. There we have it. This is the in-wing part of the accessory kit. The EK part is inside with the cable management parts. These are the screws for the cable management, and then there are a few spare screws for mounting the pump. This has like dedicated pump mounts. These are spares for the outside of the case, excuse me. And these are the standoffs which we need. If you're smart, you can do this before taking the blue plastic off so you don't touch the plexi, but didn't think that through. Get that back later. Yep, inverted layout KO. That's the way. Technically, it's not inverted. I know everyone now refers to this as an inverted layout, but the original ATX layout was like this with the power supply at the top, and that was like the traditional layout for all PC cases. And when PC cases became kind of beautified objects that were not beige and had painted interiors, then people didn't want to see the power supply at the top of the system. So they switched upside down and the power supply went to the bottom. And from then, like, that was considered conventional ATX because that's what the consumers actually saw, because, you know, then it was good enough to look at, good enough to have windows. And this is regarded as inverted, but really it's kind of not. People also peculiarly think that it's bad for graphics card airflow, but for liquid cooling it's stunning because you get to look at the top of the block. Yeah, if I scratch it, I'm dead to everyone renovation. I mean, I probably have slightly more spares available than anyone else, but yeah, definitely don't want to scratch it. We did actually get this little tool from Inwin, but if we have the correct size in our iFixit, I'd rather use that. Less risk of Phillips head sliding along the plexi. How's the build going? The build itself isn't going yet. Today we knew we weren't going to get there. We're just kind of preparing how everything's going to go. And right now we're just taking a look at the case. We're going to put the motherboard in for the first time, see like how the color balance of everything looks with the acetal parts in there, if it has nice contrast, and you know, if things are going the right way, if the cables are going to line up, if the tube's going to line up, if the loop order is correct. So today's sponsor is iFixit. No, we actually always had the iFixit kits in the office. Like they're really handy for us, and we managed to get some to list them on our site, so you can buy an iFixit when you buy a block. It's the best long-term tool you can have. This case as it is, literally won't be making a comeback. This is it now, you know. This is 990K. It's over, it's done. And we definitely will do beautiful collaborations again. This is not the end of EK doing cases, and it's not the end of EK doing really beautiful cases, but we won't repeat this exactly as it stands. So we'll make some improvements, see how people respond. Since making this, it seems so forward thinking at the time that the way the cables are routed, like the GPU layout, okay, inverted's not new, but the fact that it's isolated from the exterior of the case, radiators out, no real big hard drive racks, like that's all taken care of in the base. Like next to the power supply, there's two 3.5-inch bays, and there's not really any 2.5-inch stuff, and all that stuff makes sense right now. But we didn't see coming the fact that everyone would go to a single GPU. Even in such high-end luxury builds, like a single 3090 is insane. So we would definitely be more accommodating to alternative GPU mounts, either like hanging or vertically, maybe not inverted. I don't know, next time will be a different thing, because times have changed. This concept is like 2 years old, which is forever when you're on the edge of what people need. Hey Ben, great to see you Ben. Make a mini ITX. Yeah, 901 EK would be stunning. I completely agree. It would probably end up being kind of big. One of the premises when we made this is actually the same height and length as a 909, but it's wider. So we thought, oh, it has to be the same exterior as a 909, and then we made it bigger because you can fit 2 XEs, which is awesome. Okay, so now I've got my screws. Let's put this board in carefully. What didn't I put in, guys? Let's do it while we're here, while we can. Maybe wonky motherboards of the future. What's my favorite EK case? I mean, it has to be this. Until now, like, this is the one. I don't know what will come next. Maybe it will be even better. Who needs standoffs? Yeah, who needs them? Like, who would pre-install standoffs? Jesus. No, the reason behind the standoffs being missing is that the way this was assembled, we built the distro and Inwin assembled the distro and then sent it back to us. So some of the Inwin parts were loose because it was much easier to ship the distros without them so they wouldn't damage other distros. And then when they came back, we needed to fit it. So I think 3 screws will get us through for now. Yeah. I don't know if I'll have to take it out, probably. And let's get the Radeon inside. Nope, you don't get thumb screws, I remember now. You just struggle through it. There we go. I've got to see it without this on. Nice. Is there a way to flip the terminal on a GPU so the writing is not upside down? Sadly, not this one because it's indexed. However, the other one, which I may use in the build, yes. I'm also considering this one to have a silver cover on the GPU, and that one will fit both ways, so you have vector the right way. I'm still going to play with how the fittings look, how it all goes, maybe. Okay, so I think the I/O bracket would look even better sprayed black to match. Maybe. I'm happy for now. So on Thursday we'll be back. On Thursday we will start to mock up the tubes. Maybe I'll have some cut in advance and start planning how the cables are wired. Like I will make some of the cables on the stream, maybe an easy one like an 8-pin, definitely not the 24-pin. It's a big challenge. I need to concentrate. And then on Friday we'll be back again, hopefully practically done by then, and we can fill it up with coolant and final fitment of the hardware, connecting tubes. Maybe it will even turn on. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming by. It's been really nice talking to you all. I hope you're enjoying the build so far. If you have any ideas for it, like drop them in the comments. I'll keep reading them before Thursday and see how it takes shape. So drop a sub so you don't miss anything else, and goodbye for now, guys.